everybody. I'm Karen Hartglass. You're listening to It's All About Food. And I am here with Cheryl Moss, the author of a new children's book called GABRIEL, How Saving One Calf Changed an Entire Community. Cheryl, welcome. It's so great to see you and chat with you today.
Thank you, Karen. It's lovely to be here with you.
I always like to say this when I review children's books. The one thing I really appreciate is I read them very quickly.
That's true. It's not a huge commitment. It's a 10-minute read.
Right. But for a child, some children's books stay with us for the rest of our lives. So you have an opportunity to make a tremendous impact.
Thank you. That's my hope. I'm hoping that parents will share it with their children and they'll make different choices. And when children understand how their food comes to their plate, they will opt for all the many, 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 many wonderful options that we are fortunate to have these days.
I was talking with Jonathan Balcombe, who also has a children's book out called Jake and Ava, about a boy who goes fishing. And what I love about his book and about your book is the front cover is very sweet and colorful and loving, and you don't know what's inside. So anyone can pick up this book and read it to their child and learn from it.
Yes. The idea is not to shock, not to deter. You know, we want more people reading it. We want more people considering it and trying to open up some doors here with our books. Yes. And that was key to me, was to find a very talented illustrator, which I found in Irene. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. The images are the artwork, not the images, the artwork, because this is definitely art. It's all so beautiful. There are some troubling issues that you attack in this story in a very gentle, simple way. And the images also are part of that. And I imagine it was a tremendous challenge because you're sharing such dark, horrific things with children who we always want to protect from those things.
Right. It's so true. You know, you want to make your point, but you don't want to scare anyone. I got upset when the pandemic started and I'm hearing on the news that they're just throwing out milk. That was upsetting on so many levels. And that's really what got me going. It's like, we've got to do something about this. And when I was, my illustrator, Irene, she's from Spain. So when she was drawing images of Gabriel in his pens, it was a much sweeter picture, and I said, well, that's not how it looks. Let me send you a picture, of what it actually looks like. And I just feel like that was necessary. Because we're all thinking that they're all growing up on a farm and they're having a peaceful existence. And we know that's not the case. So how do you make that point? And how do you invite a question maybe, without having to turn away, like, oh, I can't look at that. I can't have my child look at that. That was the fine line.
Yeah, well, I believe she succeeded. So this illustrator you used, was she not familiar with what was going on in your story?
I don't think she was. She's from Spain, and I have done children's books before, and it was very important to me to find somebody of a very high quality, like we talked about. So I found her through an internet connection. And she understood my cause, and she understands what I'm trying to convey, because we have a trilogy going.
Right.
So she's on board, but even, this is getting ahead of ourselves, but for the next book, Cluck, according to what Irene's experience is, she didn't know about the chicken experience, like we have it. Now, whether or not she's availed herself of what the realities there, I can't speak to that. But I send her pictures of that too. It's like, no, this is what this looks like, you know. But
I'm enjoying hearing this story, because not only are the children and hopefully the parents who read your story are going to learn from it, but you're also educating the illustrator that you're using.
Right.
And I think maybe because of that, she may have had a better approach to illustrating, having this knowledge be fresh for her.
Yes. I think so. I think so.
Yeah. But, well, I brought this up first because not with all children's books, but definitely with yours, with the story that you're handling, the artwork is so important.
Agreed.
And for children, for some strange reason, we feel a need not to tell the truth to, and to protect them by not telling the truth. We do them a disservice. And like what you did here, you are telling the truth in a way that I think is safe and digestible and approachable for young minds.
That, I hope so. Yes, that is the intention.
Yeah.
But we're not going to it's a dark subject.
It's a dark subject.
Yeah, there's no getting around that. But there's you can make a different choice. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of good things happening that I'm trying to, focus on. We can't give up hope, but in the meantime, animals are suffering, egregiously.
For children with their young minds, when they are raised, they just suck in everything that they see around them, and what their parents and their guardians and their teachers and everyone around them, the information that they're feeding them is so critical at that early moment. And part of that are the children's books that they're reading. And as you just mentioned, we've all seen these images of farms, and they're green and they're happy, and the animals are prancing about and chewing the grass. And it's just, and even the books and the toys. I remember when my brother was growing up, he's 9 years younger. I used to love playing with his Fisher-Price farm.
Right.
The door would open and you'd hear the cow moo.
Right.
And these kind of reinforce this lie.
Yes.
And we start it young.
Yes. It's a culture. It's, I was raised on, USDA, milk and the food pyramid. And I was sent on a field trip, and we all got our little plastic coated paper carton of milk, and we got to meet a cow. And, I did not connect that there was anything going on here other than what was natural, and that Bessie the cow was actually happy to give me her milk. That was the message I received as a child.
Right.
And that is the message that that I think is still promoted.
And on Sesame Street, I'll never forget the words. They said, "The cow makes much too much milk for her young calf to drink."
Right.
And so it's okay for us to steal it from her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sad. More lies. Anyway, let's get back to Gabriel. So the story, is it based on anything for you? How did you choose to start your trilogy with this particular story?
Well, as I mentioned, the pandemic and listening to the news and how they're pouring out milk, and then listening to various restaurateurs talking about how we have to get back to the supply chain and get food back out to people. It seemed to me the perfect time to address, wait a minute, what about this excess milk that we don't need for anyone anyway? So that was what got me going. And I wrote the book in a couple of days based on the emotion I had over with everything going on and all the messages that nature was sending us, in my view, this is how we're going to focus it. What about the bigger picture that we don't need this in the first place? And maybe it's putting these poor animals together like that, that's creating all of these diseases. It was an emotional moment for me. And I decided, what can I do? I'm a business person. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't have any of those credentials, but I am a person who feels and knows that other animals are suffering. And I thought there's got to be something I can do. And, so many people, I think we can change their minds, and we do. And like you just mentioned with Irene, even, I believe that, yes, you're changing the trajectory, but that's one person at a time. But maybe it's our young, if we can get this, information to children, as you said, whose minds are still open, then, that along with all the other good things that are going on to end this, maybe that would just be one little piece of the pie, tiny.
I'm looking at the picture of Claire with her dog, and Claire is the lead character in your story.
Yes.
And she's about how old?
I would say she's about 11, maybe 10, 11.
I don't know if she was modeled after someone, but even though she's quite young in her expression, she looks full of wisdom.
Yes, as children are.
Exactly. Yeah. Not only do you talk about factory farming, well, you talk about things that are related to factory farming, and we see those images, and I don't want to give the story away. But we see people ill in the hospital, and people, you've got somebody in a hazmat suit spraying.
Yeah.
But they're all, I don't find them like so alarming that you can't look at it. And that's what's beautiful about an illustration, a cartoon, rather than a real image.
Exactly. Yeah. No, to see what really goes on, we wouldn't ask a 5-year-old to see those things.
Now, the story simply is about a young calf who has escaped and ultimately was going to be slaughtered. And this young girl finds him and saves him. And this actually happens. I was just reading a story last week that in Queens, in my neighborhood in New York City, a cow escaped.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a sanctuary in New Jersey saved this animal.
Yes.
But this happens regularly.
Yes.
And it's amazing that it does.
Well, they know they're in trouble. They know that something's not right. To say that they have no sense of what's going on, I think is false.
I've never been to one of these facilities, and frankly, I don't know how they're able to escape. But when the will is so strong, they can do anything.
Yeah, I think it's it's an exception. It's an opportunity that happens, and so to say that this happens all the time or frequently would be no. But the fact that it could happen, and that animals do have the wherewithal to know that something's off and that they need to get away, I think says everything.
And isn't it interesting that when this happens, the media jumps on it and everybody is cheering for the animal?
I know.
What is that?
It's such a disconnect. It's like, okay, all of the people that I know, and they all will tell you they love animals.
As they munch on their burger and their chicken nuggets.
It's like, well, wait, that's there's a disconnect here. What can we do about this? You've seen the pictures on social media where half of the face is a dog, half of the face could be a cow or a pig or anybody else. And it's like, why do we care so much more about this dog? And in other countries, they don't even care about the dog. But, it's like, why do we attach our love on this animal and not on that animal? Because that animal is just as lovable. And even, then you'll get the people who'll say, oh, but the bulls are mean, or, any one-off thing. And to which I want to say, well, let's discuss why they might be mean. And B, even if they are, who put you in charge? It's like, then leave them alone. I have a little boy who's vegan and a friend of mine, and we were talking about this, and he says, wouldn't you like to have a cow as a pet? And I said, well, I don't have room for a cow as a pet. I don't know that I want a cow as a pet, but I do know that I don't want to see her suffer or him suffer just because I think I need their protein, which we all know is false.
Again, I'm going to bring up the illustrations because I find them so powerful and important to the story. And when illustrating a children's book like that, there are a lot of details that we leave out. And a lot of the images are simplified. Mm-hmm. But there was a choice here to show the tag that's used on the cow's ears and the pig's ears. Was that your idea?
Yes. Yes, because it's like, why are they tagged? It looks like, to me, it's like a tattoo. And that has all kinds of, negative thoughts. But that's exactly right, that they're being, marked. And a child would ask, why do they have a tag?
Right.
And that would lead to a conversation.
And hopefully the person reading the book has the answers, right?
Right.
So what is your story?
Well,
how did you get on this path against cruelty to animals?
At some point decades ago, I woke up to the reality. I think I was listening to a radio show and somebody had a pet chicken. I mean, we're talking in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how cool he was and how, they had this relationship. And I thought, really, with a chicken? Because I grew up in Los Angeles, so I didn't have, farm animals. And it just dawned on me. It's like, when they stop becoming it, and they're like, you see their faces, and you get, just like your pets, you get to understand the sweetness and the natural, gifts that every animal has. It's like, well, we shouldn't be eating them. And then, so I did, I stopped eating all meat, 20 plus years ago. And then you had, the forks over knives. I remember when that first came out, and talking with my friends about it. It's like, animals don't even get a life. This image, like we've talked about, of, them, prancing around in the fields. It's like, no, that's not their life, And I understand that those pictures, those images are hard to see. I get that. So then don't eat them. Otherwise, it's like, what is it going to take for you to realize these animals are suffering just the same way you suffer? So anyway, that's been my journey. I've been vegan for decades, and I've always had a job. I work in business. I work at a bank. Mm-hmm. So that's not really, those are not necessarily people given to this type of a thing. But at some point, everybody will get, I think they will reach an awareness sooner or later. Everyone will reach an awareness that we have to connect and care with all of those, animals and things all around us. The world isn't here for us to manipulate. We're just a part of it. We're going to get it or we're not. So anyway, I still actually am employed, but I do work from home, and I am passionate about this. And so I have written this book, and I have written 2 others. So there's going to be a trilogy of these books. And my intention for the rest of my life, whatever that looks like, is going to be trying to increase awareness around this subject, and hopefully with children, because I think we have more of an opening. We have built a website called Better Life for Animals that hopefully, as we get further down, especially with the second book, where you have the QR code so children can connect to the website and then hopefully learn ways that they can help chickens or any farm animal. And, so that's still a work in progress, but this is what the rest of my life is going to be about.
Well, I applaud you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. We need so many more people like you. But thank you for you.
Thank you.
We're born. It's a beautiful story, and it's your story. I imagine how you would like to see things in this particular situation roll out with a child's family and the community. But unfortunately, things don't always happen that way. So a lot of children, because they're children and they see the truth and they're genuine and they're innocent, they may not want to eat animals.
Right.
I mean, not just in the story, save a cow and bring a cow home, but just the simple act of not wanting to eat them. Parents aren't always supportive.
No, they're not.
What I like about the story is it provides an example of family and community being supportive.
Yes.
So it might help in some ways, showing a light or a direction. Like maybe I can support my child and we can work through this together.
That's the hope.
Right?
Yes. But yeah, it doesn't happen without the parents participating when you're young. We know that.
No, I do. And I know so many stories of children's and teens that struggle and want to make a change immediately, and they just know it's not possible and they have to make compromises.
Yes. And so hopefully that gets logged in there at some point, and when they're able to make their own decisions, they make kinder ones, but we also have other issues, other forces happening at the same time that we both know about, the planet. So I don't know how much time we have. I want to say, we'll gently, we'll take a few decades and it'll happen. And maybe we don't have a few decades. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
I like the last line of the book, which is, how about you?
Right. They're all about, I want all of my books to have a call to action at the end where you feel, whoever the reader is, you feel empowered. It's like, I can make a difference. I can make just by making a different choice, because otherwise it becomes so big that I think people go, well, I can't affect change, but you can. Mm-hmm. Everybody does their part and change will happen.
Yeah. There are so many images how many drops does it take to fill a bucket?
Right.
And a snowball that's falling down the hill gets bigger and bigger and more powerful. We know this.
Yeah.
And how did you connect with Lantern Books? We love Lantern Books, and they've put out so many wonderful pieces that promote a vegan lifestyle, a healthy vegan lifestyle, all kinds of, I don't know what to say, but we just love them.
Yeah.
And Martin Rowe, who was the co-founder. How did you find them?
Well, this is where I feel really blessed because, it's not easy to find somebody who wants to publish a children's book from an unknown person. Mm-hmm. I put it out there. I sent out 50 letters, but I had a relationship with Mercy for Animals and Michael, and he kept encouraging me, which I really appreciated. And he actually introduced me to Brian. And the book was sent to Brian and we had a Zoom call. And quite frankly, I expected him to be very nice, but to say, here's all the reasons why we can't do it. But that isn't what happened. Mm-hmm. So I really do believe that, you do the work and you put it out there and you give it your best. And if it's meant to be, and if the time is right, things start to flow. And my relationship with Brian and Lantern Books has been amazing. And they are committed. They're committed to the cause. They're committed to the trilogy, which I'm so thankful for, because, who's to say, I hope that the more we do this, and I'll do as much of it as I can, the more books get sold, the more money gets, filtered back to them. And it's all a good thing. But regardless, Lantern Books has told me, we are behind you. And who says that? So thank you. Thank you, Lantern Books.
Right. Thank you, Lantern Books.
Yes.
I've read a lot of books. Hosting this podcast, it's all about food. And there have been some wonderful books that have come out of some major publishing houses. But at the same time, I know the same publishing companies have put out other books that are like a disaster, that are totally 180 degrees different from the book that I was reviewing at the time. And I realized that their mission is not to promote a certain ideology. It's to make books and profit from them.
Right.
And Lantern is not one of those.
No.
And that's why we love them.
Yes. I love them right back.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be nice if companies had some sort of social mission?
Wouldn't that be nice? Is right.
Yeah. And that's where capitalism needs to change.
Yes. And, you hear that there's little movements toward that, but you wonder, is it a moment? And then we all get back to business, or are we going to, see things a little bit differently? But, in the end, it's all about, we have the ability to sell a lot of books. Mm-hmm. And that's how we speak. You buy the book, you make a change, you don't buy meat anymore. You buy, all the wonderful plant-based options out there. And that speaks volumes. I mean, look at all of the growth in the plant-based alternative food area. I mean, that's amazing at the same time, right? I'm just like, whatever it's going to take to make people, I was reading Ezra Klein this weekend, wrote this wonderful article.
I read that too.
Yeah. And he's talking, it's like, it's going to take a number of things. And a lot of people struggle with, well, okay, I'm in, but what do I eat? And it's like, okay, let me help you with that, because it's never been easier.
I was surprised to see that article, frankly. I'm glad you brought it up, because I read the New York Times, and I don't know what the undercurrent is at the Times, but I get this feeling that they are so anti-vegan, and the public is changing and they have to go along with it. So you see some things trickle in occasionally. They throw us a bone. I hate to use that expression, but there are a few more recipes now that they include that have vegan options or are vegan. But I think it's hard for them.
Yeah.
I'm surprised to see that. And I didn't agree with everything in the article, but I was glad that something like that was out there for people to ponder.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's right back to, success breeds more success and more participation. And, maybe we start out small, but I think the cause and the awareness is growing, and we have to be positive, I think.
Just wanted to jump back and talk a little bit about factory farming or animal agriculture. There are lots of different names for something that is really terrible. Mm-hmm. So you are from the Southern California area?
I am.
Yeah. So you've probably seen off of Highway 5, the giant feedlot with miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of cows in the dirt.
Yeah.
Have you had any other exposure to actual factory farms where the animals are?
No, I haven't visited. I did see a couple documentaries. I'm sure you have too, where mm-hmm. these pigs are being sent in these massive trucks, to their deaths. And there are people at the gate trying to give them water. And this one was in LA. Mm-hmm. You don't even think about it. You think they're all somewhere else, but they're not. They're right in a warehouse right in your city. That it's just, I mean,
well, they do a good job of keeping it out of sight for the most part.
They do, but it's horrific and painful to know people need to know the truth. They just have to know the truth, like it or not. It's like, you've got to at least you've got to know what's really going on before you can tell me anything, that there's any justification for it, because we all know there's none.
I'm just surprised that there isn't more outrage by that giant feedlot off of the highway in California. I don't know what people are thinking whenever I see it. It's very, very disturbing. You just see so many animals. And I wonder, are people at a point where they don't even know that that's not natural?
I think that it's always been that way for them. We have been raised to believe that this is all okay, and that we are just anesthetized because I guess we can't focus on that reality because that would require that we make a choice and a different choice. And while I believe more people will make that choice, a lot of people they want to turn a blind eye. And by the way, they just want to forget the smell. I mean, before you see it, you smell it.
Thank you. Yes. The smell is horrible.
I mean, nobody lives. Who wants to live in filth? And then here come the antibiotic issue, and how that all came up in that article. And we've read about that and what they have to do to keep them alive and how they, what they do to artificially manipulate their life. And while, yes, that also has an impact a negative impact on humans who consume that food, that also is not my main focus. It's like, well, people that come to this through health, I'll take it. It's better than nothing. But I think people who come to it from a place of compassion and ethics tend to stick. Mm-hmm. That's been my experience. Absolutely. Some people I know will give it a whirl and it's, if they're only doing it for their health, that's not enough, in my opinion.
Well, I appreciate your passion. It's very evident coming out from you. I don't know if you were aware of this, but I was on a feedlot. I was invited to participate in a debate about animal agriculture and climate change. And the owner of a small feedlot used to have these educational events before a bull sale. And for some strange reason, she wanted to have a vegan on her panel. And I got her email. This was some time ago, and she invited me and I immediately accepted. But then I asked her, why did you reach out to me? And she said, I had written to many people, but either they didn't answer or they gave a very unpleasant answer. And I was surprised, but I jumped on the opportunity, and my partner, Gary, and we went and we got a tour of the feedlot before we actually had the debate. And I was surprised at how proud she was of everything that she had instituted in her feedlot. There were some new changes and she wanted to show me everything. And she really believed that if I saw it with my own eyes, I would feel better about the whole process. And she was wrong. I was horrified at every moment. But there is this belief. And I want to bring it back to your book. That's why books like yours are so important, because some things are ingrained in us from such an early age. They become a part of us and we believe it as truth, as necessary, as good. Mm-hmm. And they're not.
No. Well,
children need to learn that sooner than later.
I think you're so right. The idea I think this person was trying to impart on you was that she might have, more advanced systems in place. Maybe they were less horrific. I don't know. But the bottom line, I think she believes deep in her being that this is all righteous, that these animals are here for food. And I think that is a very strongly held belief. And, of course, as the world continues to, raise its standard of living, if you want to call it that, you've seen, economies that used to live off of grains and rice and vegetables. They think that they need to be, following our path, which, I think that's terrible, but people really believe that they need protein and that they need, this is something that it's like it was imprinted on them. It's like an imprint, and they don't want to change anything. It would be uncomfortable to have to look at, the reality, the curtain behind, that's why everything, I think, is kept, away from us, because we don't want to see it. They're serving a purpose because they know we don't want to see it. And it's got
something that's frustrating to me on top of all of this, which doesn't necessarily have to do with your book, is the direction we're taking with the plant-based food movement, because I feel like in some ways it's being taken over. And you mentioned this whole protein concept. People have been obsessed about animal protein. And as a result or a reaction, there are companies now that are creating plant-based proteins, and they call them plant-based proteins. Some of them are highly processed, and we don't even know if they'll ever be economically feasible, but it's the wrong direction. We need to be educating people about a whole food, minimally processed, diverse diet of plant foods, and not focus on one macronutrient, protein. It's just the wrong direction. It's very frustrating to me that we're taking one mistake and just layering it with more mistakes.
Yeah, just because it's plant-based doesn't mean it's healthy. It can be just as processed. That's very true. But if I have to serve that in order for you not to eat turkey at Thanksgiving, I'm going to do it.
Of course.
And so I'm happy to have that alternative. Then otherwise people are like, well, what are you going to eat? It's like, what do I do to move you? And at some point along the way, are you going to stop and go, oh, those poor animals? I mean, there was a thing, Forks Over Knives, who I follow and I like, they were listing all the reasons to become plant-based. And number 7 was the animals.
Wow.
And I'm like, what?
That's number 1 for me.
How do I move that up to number 1?
Right. Well, they're trying to appeal to a certain audience.
Here we go. You got to meet people where they are and move them along.
Yeah. But as you said before, if you make the change for health, it may not stick.
Right.
Yeah. But when you go to that higher level, it's more likely.
That is the great, fascinating thing to uncover. There's a psychology behind it, and I'm not a psychologist, but I'd love to understand, when does that light turn on? When does that window open when you see that which you chose to ignore? I find that is interesting to me, because if we could understand that, we might be able to make a more dramatic shift.
And that's why it's important to have children's books to do that early.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So we need more of them. And I'm glad you've got 2 more coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
And before we go, I just want to ask you, just on a lighter note, what some of your favorite foods are in your favorite restaurants in your area.
I'm a huge fan of purple carrot. I order because we haven't been eating out as much.
Sure.
We do have a few vegan restaurants in town that I like Veggie Nation is really a good one. And actually Las Vegas, which is where I live, is a pretty vegan friendly city. We have quite a few options. Absolutely. I find more here even than when I go visit my family in California, depending on the area, which is interesting. But I like to cook at home. And I'll tell you what, the pandemic has really driven that point home. And back to your point of eating healthy and plant-based and seeing what's in your food, there's a lot of satisfaction. And my kids are grown. I have the time to, invest in cooking. Cooking has become a therapeutic thing for me.
Definitely. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody take that in.
Yeah.
Some people get stressed out by cooking, and they really shouldn't, but I think part of it is really not knowing what to do.
Well, back to, I don't here's a plug for purple carrot.
Purple carrot.
There are other plant-based, I think
they get you started.
Yeah, they do. All the food is there.
Mm-hmm.
The recipe is there. Yes, it's still cooking, but if talk about getting started, I think I would recommend that.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, unfortunately, we're still in the pandemic.
Yes, we are.
And it looks like we're jumping into a new wave here in the United States. And we'll see where that goes. But I wish you well.
Oh, thank you, Karen.
And I want to thank you for writing, Gabriel.
Thank you.
Saving one calf.
For reading it and promoting it.
Yes. How one calf changed an entire community, written by you, Cheryl Moss, and beautifully illustrated by Irene Blasco. Gracias, Irene. Or is it Irene? Does she pronounce her name Irene?
Never actually spoken to her. It's all been on email.
Okay, there you go.
Good question.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
And happy holidays.
Same to you. Be well.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Cheryl Moss, everybody, the author of Gabriel, How Saving One Calf Changed an Entire Community. And I got to read this story the other night to one little boy, and I'm going to bring him on right now. Gary DeMattei, how did you like this book?
That's so sweet. It is an incredible story, and I really loved the illustrations as well.
Yeah, they're beautiful, aren't they?
They're by Irene Blasco.
It's either Irene Blasco or maybe it's Irene Blasco. We don't know.
Irene Blasco was someone who Cheryl sought out. It wasn't someone that Cheryl had collaborated with before.
That's right, yeah.
Writing the book. And found Irene all the way...
in Spain.
In Spain.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the World Wide Web.
Which, in Spain, they probably call the book Gabriel.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I had asked Cheryl how to pronounce it, and she said Gabriel. But I was thinking, because I've got all these languages in my head right now. I'm studying Spanish and French and German and everything. All the accents are on the wrong syllable. You know how they say that?
All the accents are on the wrong syllabus.
Yes. So perhaps I'll translate this into Espanol. But Gary, people don't want to hear the truth. You know that.
Did you talk to Cheryl, I don't remember, about how this story goes on all the time?
Yes.
In our neighborhood of Queens?
Absolutely, I did.
Cows escape slaughterhouses and people come from sanctuaries and find them. And
the amazing thing is everybody cheers on the escaped animal, but they don't connect the dots.
What is that about?
We feel for the one lonely, courageous animal that managed to get out, but the other billions, well...
yeah. And
serve it up rare or well done.
What is that about the human condition, that we can show empathy about one, but when it comes to millions and millions, it's so abstract that our minds can't factor that?
That's exactly it. Those big numbers are too abstract, and we love individual stories. We're storytellers, and we love stories.
For example,
there you have it.
Gabriel.
Yes. Gabriel, How Saving One Calf Changed an Entire Community. All right.
Beautiful story. So, happy holidays to you.
Thank you, Gary. We've been through a few holidays so far in this winter season. Hanukkah came early. Did you know it even happened? It just
I'm still waiting to light the candles. We didn't do any candle lighting this year.
No, we didn't. And then we had Christmas with your family, Christmas Eve at your brother's, and Christmas Day at your niece's. Lovely. And I just had to make a lemon meringue pie.
You did. It was fantastic. And it's on your Facebook page. And I hope you put it on the real page. Did you?
It's beautiful. I'll add it to this post just because it's such a beautiful thing.
It's gorgeous.
Okay. Disclaimer.
This has got sugar in it, folks.
This is a treat.
This is made with sugar.
This is not an everyday food. This is not for people who are addicted to sugar, unfortunately.
If you're on an SOS-free diet, you do not want this pie in your...
But for me, a vegan for 33 years...
who is trying to make vegans, you were saying, I will bring a dessert, because every time you bring that dessert, all of the non-vegans are like, are you serious? This is vegan? Wait, how did you make the meringue? And they usually want you to leave it there. Normally, we can't leave the food, but every time you've made this pie and brought it to someone's home, they've all wanted to keep it.
Yeah, that's not something that goes home with us.
Yeah. So it's great. And you're in the business of making vegans, and this is
so this satisfies that I'm here to make vegans part of me.
Right.
It's not the part that wants to make everyone healthy and live a long, happy, healthy life.
You just want to get them off the animal first.
Just get them off the animal first. But the thing about aquafaba meringue, I thrill every time I make it. So this is, in part, something for me.
Right.
And I'll tell you something. This is not an easy recipe. This is not a quick and easy, less than 30 minutes recipe. Now, most recipe books that say
less than 30 minutes,
they're lying.
Yeah. Less than 30 minutes. No, sorry. It takes that long to warm up your oven.
But this takes a long time. And it took longer because we're not in our own home where I have access to all kinds of ready to go ingredients.
Right. We're reinventing our home kitchen.
Yeah. But it was worth it. I made it. I made the crust. I made my latest gluten-free crust recipe that I just think is perfection, and it doesn't have any gums. It's just whole grains, cashew yogurt, and either a vegan oil or a vegan butter. Yes, it's not SOS free. And then it has this lemon custard, and we're staying at a place that has a fresh lemon tree.
Lemon trees everywhere in this part of the Bay Area.
Yeah.
They're all over the place.
And then the meringue was just behaved perfectly.
Oh, it did.
And we made the aquafaba ourselves. We had soaked and cooked garbanzo beans. And that's kind of like the plus with making your own aquafaba. You get the wonderful bean, right, and then you save the bean water for whenever you're ready to make a treat.
This is stuff that people used to just throw down the drain until what, 2016?
2015 is when it was discovered. I'm using air quotes when I say discovered.
Someone must have been really bored or really stoned to try whipping up bean water. And then I wish I could know how the reaction when they actually started to see it fluffing up.
Right. Well, if you look at garbanzos cooking in water and the water gets really hot, you get that foam right on top. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner.
And the thing for me is after it chills, it's very gelatinous, and you wonder, this is really, there's something
kind
here.
Kind of slimy like egg whites, right?
Anyway, your lemon meringue pie was once again the hit of Christmas Eve.
Yeah, thank you.
It was delicious.
Okay, let's move on because we have very little time left of this program, and I have a few things I want to talk about.
Let's talk. Let's do it.
Let's talk. Okay, as we mentioned, we are house sitting. We're directing a show in California, and we're full of gratitude. We're in a wonderful space that has so many fun gadgets for us in the kitchen. We're using a tea kettle to boil water, and you know we're big tea fans.
It's an electric tea kettle.
It's an electric Cuisinart. Lovely. Yeah, and what I love about it is you can dial in the temperatures.
Right, because you like to make matcha.
I like to make matcha with water at 175 degrees Fahrenheit, and Gary likes his tea with scalding hot boiling water.
Right.
And this is easy to do with the touch of a button. But any tea kettle, low quality or high quality, no matter what it costs, when you're using tap water, you can get lime scale. You can get those white mineral deposits, and it can flavor your water.
Not the kind of lime you find on a citrus tree, but
it's a mineral.
The other kind of lime.
It's so easy to remove. So I just want to mention this just to remind you, and you don't need any harsh chemicals. You just need white vinegar.
Yes.
There are lots of websites that tell you what to do, but basically what you want to do, you can use it straight out of the bottle, white vinegar, a little bit to cover the area where the lime scale is.
Right.
You heat it up to a boil and you let it cool down, you swish it around. You could dilute it half and half. There are different recipes, equal parts, water and vinegar. But the key is to heat it up and then let the kettle sit. After a few hours or overnight, whatever, you can empty it or you can reheat it again and get more deposits out. The thing is, it doesn't happen instantaneously.
Yeah.
But it is not harsh. It's gentle to use and it gets your kettle clean.
Sparkling clean.
Sparkling clean. I just wanted to remind you that white vinegar and baking soda are really the only two things you need to clean in your house.
Right.
You don't need harsh chemicals.
Peroxide.
Oh, we love peroxide. Right. And can we talk about peroxide for a minute? Gary cut his finger.
Yeah, a really tiny little cut on my baby finger of my left hand.
And somehow blood was everywhere.
Right. We got the blood out. You did.
With hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah, it was the smallest cut, but it...
Yeah, bled everywhere.
Bled everywhere. And
so peroxide, thanks for bringing that up. Peroxide, vinegar, and baking soda. That's all you need in your house to do cleaning.
Right, but a lot of folks buy all of these really heavy-duty toxic cleaners, and that's not good. Because they want it fast, just like they want half-hour meals. They want to be able to clean quickly.
That's the price. For speed, destroy the environment. Hooray!
Yeah. Hooray. So I'm drinking something. I'll take a little coffee sip here. It's actually not coffee. It's Ticino.
Ticino.
And it's organic.
Organic.
And it's delicious. If you're looking, I know a lot of people are going to be making New Year's resolutions. And if you're looking to kick caffeine, I don't get any kickbacks from Ticino. Check it out. It's really great. I'm holding a package here. There's a lot of good things happening with Ticino.
So we get the maca chocolate flavor a lot.
The maca chocolate,
because
dark
it's
roast,
organic.
It's caffeine free. It's organic. It's acid free. It's a prebiotic. It's wonderful. And that's what you're hearing. I'm slurping on a cup of Ticino. What were you drinking?
I was drinking two things. I was drinking water with lemon peel in it, which is my thing. I squeeze the lemons out for things like lemon custard in a lemon meringue pie, and I save the rinds. And then I pour hot water on them, and I enjoy them all day. And I also had a matcha green tea brewed with 175-degree Fahrenheit water.
Right. Delicious, right?
Yeah.
If you like pond scum. No.
There.
I'm kidding.
There.
I'm kidding.
All right. A couple more things. I want to mention, we did a video, it seems like centuries ago, but the information is still so pertinent and so current. It's called Soy Story. Have you seen it? Let us know. We were gathering, as I mentioned, with family, and I heard the soy myths. Oh, the soy myths. Like, you shouldn't eat soy if you have or had breast cancer. Wrong. This is a myth.
Myth.
Soy helps prevent recurrence, and soy has been shown to reduce risk of breast cancer in populations that consume a lot of soy. The other soy myth...
Your boobs will grow if you...
Yeah.
Like men don't eat soy because they don't want their boobs to grow.
And teenage girls will...
eat
soy because they want their boobs to grow. I mean, this is just crazy.
We heard all of these things from people who don't eat soy for those reasons.
So we sent the link to these people of our video, Soy Story, and I recommend it. Yeah. I watched it again. I hadn't seen it in a while.
Now, do you think folks watch this and believe it? Or do you think they will come up with other reasons why they don't want to eat soy?
Gary, we can only do what we can do.
Yeah, it was more of a rhetorical question. But soy is, especially the way you explain it in the video, if it's minimally processed in the form of tofu, edamame, tempeh, miso,
and organic, not genetically modified,
and just beans and water making soy milk, if that's how your soy milk doesn't have any additives, then these foods are really, really great for you.
You know what's funny? The people that believe these myths, they have no problem eating an animal that has been fed tons of genetically modified soy. They don't connect the dots. They don't put it together.
Is that human thing again?
It's that human thing.
That we were talking about at the beginning. We can empathize with one little cow's story, but the millions and millions of little cows that are being slaughtered every minute, we just abstractly can't wrap our heads around.
I have one more thing I want to talk about before we go, and the clock is ticking. Is the clock ticking? Are there any clocks that tick?
I don't know. I think people make up ticking.
Okay, there's a new RNA-based cholesterol-lowering treatment that has been approved by the FDA. And I'm always interested in cholesterol-lowering treatment because I'm one of those people who has high cholesterol, and I eat a whole food, plant diet, little or no oil. I'm doing everything right, and yet my cholesterol still wants to ring the bells. It's not that high, could be higher, but it's not as low as I'd like it to be. So these things, when I see articles like this, they get my attention. Well, there's a new drug called Leqvio, Leqvio. Who comes up with these names?
I have no idea.
Leqvio.
How about Blackvio?
I like that.
Leqvio.
It's an injectable prescription medicine, and you only are required to get 2 doses per year. And it's used along with diet and other lipid-lowering medicines in adults who need additional lowering of bad cholesterol. That's the LDL. Now, what's interesting is on the Leqvio website, listen to this. It says, it is not known if Leqvio can decrease problems related to high cholesterol, such as heart attacks or strokes. Okay, so you can lower your cholesterol, but there's no evidence that it's going to keep you from getting a heart attack or a stroke. This is important. The other thing is the important safety information. The most common side effects of Leqvio were injection site reaction, including pain, redness, and rash. Okay. Joint pain, urinary tract infection, diarrhea, chest cold, pain in legs or arms, and shortness of breath. It sounds like COVID.
Why would you want to inject yourself with this?
Yeah, exactly. So here we are.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah, it's
Go on a whole food plant-based diet and don't eat Karen's lemon meringue pie. Okay?
Yeah. Maybe once every 2 years.
Make it for your friends who aren't vegan.
Yeah, feed it to them. You could just have a bite.
You could have a bite. Okay. No, it's great to look at and it's great to bring to a party, but if you're on an SOS-free diet, stay away from it. You know what you should do though is make her your raw pie, your pecan.
The raw pecan pie doesn't even use a flour crust. It's all nuts and dried fruit.
Make that, okay? If you're not wanting to eat any refined sugars or anything of that nature, make that. Post that too on the page.
That sounds like a good idea. That's not my recipe though, but I will post it.
Well,
I've made variations of it.
You have, yes.
But it's really yummy.
And on our website you have a lot of great recipes that are still of the season because, New Year's Eve is coming up. And if you're looking for things to make that aren't sugar enhanced but are sweet, some of Karen's balls are up there on the site. Check them out.
Boozy balls.
Boozy balls are fantastic. And they're made with dried fruit and coconut. And
they can look really festive.
Yeah, they're delicious. I'm thinking we need to make some.
We need to make some.
For our New Year's Eve party in captivity.
Yeah, because captivity is coming back.
But I don't think people are going to stand for it. I think they're just going to go out and wear masks and things.
Yeah, well, time will tell. Gary, once again, we're at the end of the program. It's been a pleasure chatting with you because I've missed you on this show.
Yeah, well, you've been busy. And Gabriel, How Saving One Calf Changed an Entire Community, written by Cheryl Moss, illustrated by Irene Blasco, and the epilogue by Leah Garces. But the most important part is who wrote the foreword.
Oh, I did.
Did you tell everybody?
I didn't.
You didn't tell anybody you wrote the foreword?
No, I was asked to write a testimonial, and I got a little carried away, and I sent them the whole piece, and I said, you can cut it. And then they said, we want to use it as the foreword to the book.
Yeah, so make sure that you get the book, even if it's just to read the foreword by Karen Hartglass.
Thank you, Gary.
Congratulations on that foreword.
Yeah, it's
you have
kind
to
of
get
thrilling.
that in there. You weren't even going to see how modest you are. You weren't even going to tell people that Lantern Books, the publisher of this, asked you if you wouldn't mind using all of your testimonial as the foreword of the book, and so they did.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for being you, Gary. And
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Stay safe, stay well, but more importantly, stay real.
Stay real.
Real. Have a delicious week.